maybe those of you that enjoy my content, this week has just got to be Merry Christmas, my gift to you. All right, so we just finished making our lather. If you're watching all these 101 videos in order, and you squash it and get it on your face. Again, a lot of theories as to this. It's kind of funny because some guys, it's very important to them to have a nice thick lather. Part of this is just the experience. You know, we could do this with one blade, one soap that doesn't smell like anything, the cheapest brush, but some of it's for the experience. So it's enjoyable to get a lather that looks pretty. It's enjoyable to have a nice thick lather. But in reality, when you're shaving, the only point that matters is where the blade is touching the face. So all this thick lather, the stuff outside that area, it doesn't matter. It's just getting scraped away with everything else. Barber Dave will talk about your sebaceous glands, your oil glands in your face, and how that can add to the slickness and stuff. So you could just paint this on and be done, right? You see us doing this and keep going. Part of it is probably activating those glands, make it a little slicker. Part of it is, hey, I've spent all this time making this lather. I'm going to enjoy a little bit of a facial massage, you know? I don't know. To each their own, to each their own. See, I'm still going. I could have stopped. Now, again, it comes with experience. This feels a little thicker than what I always use. It's going to be fine. If I was picky, I might add a little bit more water to the bowl, whip it up a little bit more and go. Let me show you quick. This is a cool trick from Spider on the cadre. He squishes his brush like that against his face. Does like that. You've got a little hole that then if you're face lathering, you run your water, you put the water in the little hole, and then you start doing that, and you see how we got some more moisture in there. And that's how he gets, one way, he gets water up to his face. So there you go. And in fact, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but that actually did, adding that water thinned it out a little bit. And this is more about what I use. Okay, so got our razor. I always wet the razor. Don't know if it makes a difference, just a habit. Now what they say is that you take your razor, if you put it straight on, your blade is not going to be touching your face, right? You've got the safety bar right here. See, I can do this, no problem. You do this, you lift up a bit to where, and you can see that as you tilt it, that blade's going to get closer to your face. And this is just what you need to find, is where that angle is, where that blade is going to start running on your face. Now again, with every razor, that's going to be a little bit different. The other thing is you don't do it this way, but this is called riding the cap. Again, you can hear the blade isn't touching your face, there it's not touching your face. In between is the angle you need to shave. So a big difference between shaving with one of these and shaving with a cartridge. The cartridge has that spring in there, right? And the head is doing like this. So you just pull your head down and the head of your cartridge razor is meeting the contours of your face to keep the blades at the right angle. This happens here. That's where you're getting that angle change. If you can hear that, there's a toilet over there that's running. That's my nemesis. I've tried 3 different things to keep it from leaking to running. I think I've gotten it less. Ugh. Anyway. So that is something to remember, that as you come down, you hit an angle. Look, my hand is moving because you have to keep, as best you can, the angle of the razor, the blade, at the same angle to your face as you go around these curves. It doesn't take too long to just make that a habit. You don't even think about it. It would be very odd for me, I think, to go back to shaving with a cartridge and not moving my wrist around. So I was talking about the cap. So there is a certain range in here at which it's going to shave. And we'll get back to what I was talking about in the razors, is that the more straight on the blade is to your face, the more aggressive it's going to be. the more you might feel the blade, the more irritating it can be. So depending on the razor, if the razor is a little bit too aggressive for you, the closer you get to the cap, it's called riding the cap, where you can still shave, but you're more feeling the cap than this. You're moving the angle of the blade more and more acute to your skin, more parallel, so it's less aggressive, and you can change the aggression of the blade that way. So that would be, you know, again, I've never shaved my head, but your head has less straight lines. Well, I don't know, this is probably pretty straight. But as you're coming down, so you're gonna have to keep that hand moving for your head. Cover your noggin there. Okay, so let me rinse this off, and I got one last big point to make, and then I'll finish up the shave quick. Well, I guess another point in between is when you shave with a cartridge, you tend to be one pass, right? A pass is lathered up, shaving one direction, that's a pass. Modern cartridges have 3, 4, 5 blades. I don't know, are they up to 6 now? That's kind of doing all of your passes for you for the most part. I know sometimes I go against the grain at the very end if I wanted super close. This is just one blade. So if you do like this, everybody knows if you look closely, let your hair grow out, you can see your hair grows in different directions. They're up here, right? It looks like it's kind of growing this way, and here it's going to grow this way and then down. It's not all one direction. I might have an easier time with that on your head than your face, where direction can change in small little areas. But most folks do a 3-pass shave. Some do 2 just because 3 passes is too irritating to the skin. The reason we do that is to get the hairs growing in a different direction, right? So because there's only one blade, you'd think it doesn't matter, but it does. If your hair is like kind of laying down sideways and I'm coming this way, it might not grab it. So right now it still feels rough on my cheeks. So this is, they call with the grain, when you go the direction that the majority of the hair is growing. This is across the grain. So now, the number one biggest thing about shaving with this rather than a cartridge is pressure. No pressure. No pressure. And my tagline used to say, just when you think you're shaving with no pressure, you still are. Because that's the way, we are not used to cartridges. You can cram against your face and not get hurt. This, if you're pushing down on it, you're not going to get hurt per se, but you're going to get some razor burn. You might get some what we call weepers, tiny little drops of blood just because you got a little too close to somewhere or cut off something you shouldn't have or whatever. The blade really has to do the work, and you have to let it. So you're not going to be grabbing the thing like this. It's being held very gently, just enough to control. And what it is you are barely letting that thing touch your skin at all. And it's not really something that's easy to show on a video. But it's something when you're starting out, you need to think about constantly. And I would say, for the most part, if you're having a lot of stinging after your shave, or you put on your aftershave and it stings a lot, all that stuff that kind of means I got a little too close, a lot of the times it's pressure or too aggressive a razor, one of those two. And then that's about all I can say on that, other than practice. I think a lot of people struggle with that for months. And that's just the way it is. And it all depends on your razor too. The razors I've ended up using all the time, part of it is because they're a little bit more forgiving. That And hopefully it's not just this way, other than vintage razors, but the newer razors, the ones I've found that have a lot of leeway in terms of I don't have to think about the pressure and stuff all that much, tend to be more expensive. Like they're engineered very well. And that's just the way it is. But when I go to use some of my vintage razors, I've got one ESEE, a single edge razor that is fairly aggressive, and that's fun for me to use just because it makes me be super thoughtful, super careful, which I don't always want to be. So it's nice to find a razor that when you're headed out for work every day, you don't have to worry about it. Maybe it's a weekend shave. So I'm already at 10 minutes for this one. I'll try to be kind of quick. That was the third pass. So for me, the third pass goes up against the grain, opposite direction. So it's kind of like whisker reduction with each pass, and with the hope that with the final pass, everything is super smooth. And very often, again, because I'm a professional, I get to the point where everything is glass smooth just after 3 passes. But that's why if you see people doing this, they're feeling for, everybody does that, leftover whiskers. And you can, this soap, there's enough residue on here, it's slick enough. When you're first starting, I would just do the 1, 2, 3 passes, let it be. Get your technique down, all that stuff. Because guys that worry about getting super smooth at the beginning are going to make their skin raw. You're just going to keep going over. You haven't learned what directions work for that area yet. Again, head, completely different. Face, this whole jawline thing and hair starts to swirl can be a major problem issue for guys as to which angles you have to do to get it smooth. It's smooth now, but if I push hard, it's not. So I can even be like pulling traction to kind of get the hairs to stand up to get really close shave. All that stuff you don't want to do when you're learning this, because it'll just make you irritated literally with the outcome of your shave. So I'd say you do a couple, be happy with what the result is regardless of what it is, so that you can shave again, whatever it is. If you're going to do your noggin every day, every other day, whatever, that it's not irritated to the point where you can't shave again. We'll be back with finishing up.